When uncertainty knocks, praise opens the door. David staggered out of Gath with spit in his beard and adrenaline in his veins. He had just escaped a Philistine king by faking insanity, a resume bullet none of us covet. Yet the first line he pens afterward is a hymn. I will bless the Lord at all times. Picture that. Breath is still ragged, enemies are still prowling, and he's leading a worship service for whoever will listen in the cave. That moment reframes the crisis as a classroom. When economic headwinds rattle your forecast or a client's email nukes your product launch, the quickest path out of panic is the slow discipline of praise. It widens the lens until God's goodness fills the frame and fear shrinks into background noise. From Gath to the boardroom, the power of perspective. Psalm 34 is an acrostic. David literally works the alphabet line by line, forcing his chaotic story into ordered praise. That alphabet is more than poetic flair. It's a template for leaders who must impose structure on volatility. In business, we build frameworks, dashboards, and playbooks for the same reason: to keep emotion from eating strategy for breakfast. But David goes deeper. He lets worship, not spreadsheets, set the narrative. When meetings spiral or department silos harden, reclaim perspective by anchoring in truth bigger than quarterly numbers. Shake that truth into the room like smelling salts. Your team's morale and your own sanity depend on it. Taste, see, and stakeholder buy-in. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Notice the order. Experience precedes vision. In the marketplace, it's the prototype that convinces skeptics, not the slide deck. Likewise, faith becomes credible when you taste it, when you pray daring prayers, when you practice integrity under pressure, and when you watch provisions follow risk. Once you do, you see opportunities others miss because their palate is still numb. Want buy-in from a cynical coworker or teenager? Invite them into an experience they can sample, not a lecture they can argue with. Experience silences debate faster than the best talking points. Refuge is a strategy, not an escape. David calls God a refuge, but notice he's not transported out of danger. The cave remains damp. Saul still wants him dead. Yet David is untouchable where it matters most: his identity. For entrepreneurs, that's the difference between a pivot and a meltdown. Refuge is a strategic inner fortress that keeps you inventive and sane when revenue dips. Build it with silence before the day starts, scripture on repeat, mentors who ask hard questions, and a gratitude journal that refuses to forget yesterday's miracles. Refuge is relational, not geographical. And yes, it scales. The hungry young lions of self-reliance. Verse 10 draws a vivid contrast. Even apex predators grow hungry, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing. Translation: hustle culture eventually exhausts its champions, while surrendered leaders receive sustainable provision. Young lions stalk your office wearing labels like market share, personal brand, and next promotion. Let them roar. You chase a different currency, peace that stays put when the metrics dip. Ironically, that peace often becomes your competitive advantage, attracting clients and teammates starved for stability. Memory bank, funding tomorrow's faith. If he did it before, he can do it again. That isn't just a churchy platitude, it's a cognitive tool. Neuroscientists call it positive recall bias. David calls it testimony. And businesses call it case studies. Whatever you label it, the practice is the same. Catalog wins, so the next challenge meets a mind already convinced of possibility. Hold quarterly Ebenezer meetings with your team. Review deals that closed against the odds, partnerships that blossomed from cold emails, and crises that forged culture. Memory funds momentum, turning insight into impact. Start each workday in the cave. Before Slack dings, breathe a psalm aloud. Set perspective before pixels. Prototype your faith. Pick one risk: ethical pricing, Sabbath rest, radical generosity, and taste God's goodness in real time. Schedule a refuge. Block calendar space for solitude, the same way you protect an investor briefing. One fuels the other. Name the lions. Identify the voices of self-reliance stalking your thoughts. Counter them with specific stories of past provision. Share the story. At the next team huddle, lead with gratitude, not performance metrics. Watch the culture shift. One sentence worth taping to your monitor. Worship puts problems into perspective. Storms still roll across the sky, markets still lurch, and inboxes still ambush. But the leader who learns to praise in the cave walks back into the sunlight, carrying peace, a purpose, and a playbook the lions can't decode. Your move: